We've got this in our home, in our offices, everywhere. Matter of fact, it's so important to us that I wear one around my neck, and the response that we get. I go through the airport and I get buzzed all the time. And are you Jew or are you a Christian? I said, well, I'm both. I am a Jew, but I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of the teachings of Jesus. Yeah. And when we're looking at that piece, a scripture that I haven't used yet is Isaiah 62:1. For Zion's sake, I will not keep silent. For Jerusalem's sake, I will not remain quiet till her vindication shines out like the dawn and her salvation like a blazing torch. And you think about, this is Jubilee. Yeah. I'm Jewish. I believe I'm part of the fulfillment of the scripture that God says that he'll send the Jew and people, leaders from nations, people from nations will grab this corner of your tallit and say, teach us, for God is with you. And until Jesus comes back, we're going to teach you the Jewish roots. But this picture, and I've got this picture at home and in my office here at the church. Yeah. This is Jubilee. These soldiers have regained Jerusalem for the first time since before Jesus. This is the fulfillment of prophecy. Jesus is looking down at Jerusalem and he weeps. And he said, Jerusalem, I would have gathered you as a hen does gather her chicks. And talks about the destruction of Jerusalem. But then he jumps till this day. Wow. June 7th, 1967, he says, until the day of the Gentile is over. On this day, supernatural miracles took place. That's right. Israel was granted by God incredible supernatural victory on the Jubilee. Yep. The prophecy is that will prepare us till the next Jubilee for the coming of the Messiah. Wow. That is right now. This is an appointed time. Glory. Listen to me. When we give, anytime we give, God gives back. But when we give to Israel, that's it. And when we give to Israel at the time of Jubilee, the miracles that God's going to bring into your lives are unimaginable. Amen. This is the launching. I feel bad for Christians who are going to miss this. Yeah. Who nobody's told them. Yeah. And I believe that's the fulfillment of the prophecy that Rabbi Lapin said. He said, you're Esther. You're the Jew that stands between the Gentile and the Jews for such a time as this. And we'll, if Jesus doesn't come for 5 years or 10 years, which I don't know that we have that, this Jubilee is for such a time as this. Yes, it is. And I think, I want to emphasize again that we didn't always think this way as Christians. We were taught different. We were taught that. Yeah. And I very seldom tell people that I'm Jewish because people then say, well, that's why you're doing this. Yeah. But we were pastoring for 20 years. Yeah. Before we ever made our first trip to Israel, and it was after I went to Israel and I started studying the Jewish roots that my mom actually told us that we are Jewish. Yeah. So it has nothing, that's why I don't say it too often. Right. Because people say, well, that's why you're doing it. No, I'm doing it because this is what's going to make us that glorious bride. This is what's going to bring the unlimited financial and spiritual outpouring. And those have to come together. Yeah. The finances and the power of God. And that comes when we become a blessing to Israel. Yeah. When we quit cursing Israel. And whether it's a nation or whether it's as Christians, when we quit cursing Israel and we start blessing Israel. Yes. The blessing's going to pour out of heaven, and Jubilee is the time to begin it. Amen. And, we touched on something going into the break, Larry, that I think we want to talk about. What did this actually look like in our lives when we received this revelation? How did our lives change? And how will people's lives change as they accept their Jewish roots? Well, and we're not going to get into teaching. I'm not getting into teaching the Jewish roots of the scriptures now, but we're only understanding a part of the scripture because we're reading it as Gentiles, not as Jews. Jesus didn't speak Greek. Jesus didn't speak English. Jesus spoke Hebrew, Western Aramaic, and I began to study that. But more than anything else, I found out as a Christian how I'm to act.
Yes.
And it's right there in the teachings of Jesus. They came to Jesus and they said, what's the greatest of all the commandments?
Wow.
What's the greatest of all the commandments? And Jesus said this, love God.
Yeah.
But then he said, love your neighbor.
Yeah.
These two are equal. And I found out it's not enough for me to love God.
Right. It's so
Matter of
powerful.
fact, in rabbinical teaching, God says, if you have to stop loving somebody, stop loving me, love your neighbor.
Wow.
In Hebrew, it's called tikkun olam, repair a broken world.
Yes.
There's not a part of the world more broken than Israel. You and I are here to repair the breach, to repair a broken world.
Yes.
And there's not a world more broken than Israel and the Jewish world because of what the church has taught.
Yes.
God said,
My
I will
goodness.
curse those who curse. The Jews didn't kill Jesus. Jesus said, no man takes my life.
Right.
The Jews, we have not replaced Israel. We are grafted into Israel.
Right.
And God said, I will bless those who bless Israel.
Yes.
When listen to me. Jubilee will never come again. For 50 years.
My goodness.
But it'll never come again after 4 blood moons and Shemitah. And now this is the mother of all appointed times. If you've never given to Israel, this is the time to do it right now. If you have, this is the time to do the greatest gift you can give to Israel. Because it's not just being a blessing to Israel, it is saving lives. It's putting a bomb shelter over people that are 22 miles away from ISIS. And when you do that for Israel physically, can you imagine the bomb shelter God is going to put over your marriage and over your children and over your home? ISIS may not be next door, but the devil is. And when we do something physical for Israel, God then reaches back and does something supernatural, spiritual over your life. A miracle bomb shelter to protect you from the fiery darts of the enemy. This year is going to be the best year of your life so far. Help us right now. Do it right now. Don't put off one more moment, because this Jubilee will never be here again. And this Jubilee is preparing you for the coming of the Messiah. We're Larry and Tiz Huch. We got to go. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.